Hello there. Hi, welcome to my team building guide series of videos. In this video, I'm going to cover the Raiden Shogun, and primarily talk about what teams the Shogun fits into and how she can play in multiple roles. So, this is a team synergy focused video. This is not a guide on how to build the Shogun, though I will throw up images on both weapons per role and artifacts per role, giving you some idea on what to build with a certain team composition in mind. If you want more in-depth guides with my personal wisdom, let me know in the comments. And I'd like to also mention one more thing before we get into building teams. This is a disclaimer, primarily. I am not the master of creating teams. I only make this an ultimate guide because it's pretty much an extensive guide on what you need to know to make teams for your Raiden Shogun. And I will be making a lot of different guides for newer characters coming up in this similar style, so please leave constructive feedback in the comments and give me your thoughts. Though I will say, since the Shogun is an Electro-based character, she is not meta-defining by any means, and this current Abyss for Inazuma's 2.0 Abyss is the same in 2.1, which is still tailored towards Ayaka and Yoimiya, Cryo and Pyro DPS. So the Shogun needs Cryo and Pyro characters in this Abyss to truly shine. And typically, they're the best characters that can be supported by the Shogun, so I guess it works out. But remember, raw electro damage is blocked by a lot of things in this floor, especially the annoying buffs that go on enemies when they have electro. So please, stop putting a square into a circle slot. Use characters that you absolutely can get through a floor with. Don't just try and slot the Shogun in and hope that she works. Here are my builds I'm going to be using with the Shogun. I tried not to use this weapon too often, but this is with the Engulfing Lightning, 4-piece emblem. She's at C0 with her talents at 666. And her crit ratio is kind of poopy, but it's all I have for now. The next build I have is with this number of attack, and it's with the Deathmatch, putting my crit ratio very, very desirably high. I use this for a lot of my free-to-play teams, though it is at Refinement 5, I'm sorry, it can't be too relatable. It has the emblem pieces as well, the same exact ones. .666 talents, and at C0 again. And only for my physical teams, here is my meme build. Here are my values. Pretty nice. And it's with the Staff of Homa, stacking HP with the Millith set. This by no means is proper to build the Shogun with. I just had these pieces on my Zhongli and I wanted to try them out. And that's what you should do too. You should try them out. If you have Millith pieces, try it. If you have Noblesse pieces, try it too. Noblesse is actually really good if you want to use her as more of a support. But otherwise, you know what my standard builds are. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too long, and now we're going to go straight into the Shogun's teams with her roles in mind. Let me break down the visuals real quick. From left to right, I will use the red borders for DPS, and the blue borders for sub-DPS in the second slot if they are present. My purple and orange borders are for differing support types, so this is for when you don't have a sub-DPS. The green borders are reserved for healing and shielders that may be fulfilled in other roles, and are also in the last slot only, which I will switch to when I talk about possible healers and shielders that do multiple roles. You'll get familiar with all my icons as I label them, so don't worry. But I'll show a few icons for what the Raiden Shogun's roles are. The Raiden Shogun can be used as a main quick swap DPS with burst DPS focuses. She can only be a quick swap DPS, so keep this in mind. She can be a sub DPS that inherently has support capabilities, but comes out when all of your characters on your team have either used their burst, or during opportune times when your main DPS needs a cooldown period. The final role for the Shogun is an Electro Applicator support. This kind of support is restricted only by being needed if you need to apply Electro, so be sure you have proper setups that don't mind the Electro, since she needs her elemental skill to enhance your team. And here are the weapons and artifacts per role that I recommend. Pause the video if you'd like to stare at it longer. during my recordings, my party setup won't be exactly the same as how I explain it, but I will have some visual indicators that will show what role each character is on my party. I'll also make a proper montage video of all the teams I used in this video and the other floors they've completed, since I wanted to keep this video as short as possible, so I cut it off at the right point where I would move on to the next segment. So stay tuned for that video. Alright, so the first type of team is a physical team. I call this team the Shogun's Sharpener, with different variations. The Shogun's role in this team is to constantly apply Electro for superconduct. She can also act as a unique sub-DPS with the proper setup. I'm going to go a little freeform here, off script, so please bear with me as I talk about the teams. The Cryo variation of the Shogun Sharpener team is the most powerful form of physical DPS. The Cryo DPS in question can be either Eula, Kaya, Rosaria, and even Chi-Chi. Your sub-DPS options can either be Rosaria, Kaya, Shogun, or even Shenyan, and then you have support options, where you can either pick multiple if you're not using sub-DPS, or pick just one. Support type 1s include a booster or applicator. The Shogun is going to fit one of those roles if she's not the sub-DPS. Kujo-Sara, Lisa with the dragon buff, which is Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers, and if you have BENNET at C5, he works great. The support type 2 is your shielding and healing. These shielders and healers can apply multiple roles. Zhongli's the best at protection with some shred and CC. Diona has a 3-for-1 package where she has healing, shielding, and cryo application, and Chi-Chi has a lot of healing and cryo application. One of my favorite optimal teams is Eula as your main DPS, Rosaria as your sub-DPS support, Shogun being Electro Applicator, and Zhongli being your shielder. My favorite F2P team is actually Rosaria as the main DPS with Crescent Pike, since, oh my gosh, the Shogun procs Crescent Pike so often with every little electro particle, and Kai is there as a sub-DPS, and Zhongli is your shielder that shreds physical resistance. This is a surprisingly very fun team, even though I did not use it very well, so please don't hate me, but yeah, enjoy. The next variation is the Electro DPS. There's not too many, it's really just your main physical Electro DPS, which include Kaching, Razor, and Fischl. For this team, you might need a little bit more cryo application. You can either pick one of each of these supports, or if you have Chi-Chi or Diona as cryo applicators, since you need it for superconduct, you can pick 2 booster types. The first type of support is their booster types. The Shogun is your main one. Kujo-Sara is another. Mona or Lisa with the dragon buff. And C5 BENNET. Your support type 2 is your cryo applicators. If you do not have Chi-Chi or Diona, you can use Rosaria, Kaya, or Ganyu. And your support type 3 is your shielders and healers, Diona, Chi-Chi, and Zhongli are the same here. For my favorite electrophysical teams, I do not have anything recorded because this Abyss isn't really the best for electrophysical or electro damage at all, but if I were to pick, it would be Keqing as your main optimal electrophysical DPS, and then Razor as your free-to-play option. Okay, now to the fun part. The elemental teams. There are 4 types of elemental teams to try out. The first being a Mono-Electro team, which I have dubbed Thunder and Lightning. Remember, this role and most mono-element roles need to have the Abyss tailored for them, not against them. So, for Thunder and Lightning, your Electro main DPS can either be the Shogun, Keqing, Beidou, or Lisa. Your support type 1 is an Electro sub DPS or an Electro booster. The Shogun can fit this slot, or you can have Kujo Sada, Fischl, Lisa with or without the dragon buff, or Electro Traveler. And then for your other slots, you can pick either or. In your support type slot 2, a Nemo Viridescent boosters that focus on AoE. Kazuha, Venti, Sayu, Sucrose, or a Nemo Traveler. Jean can also work, but she's less AoE. Your support type 3 can be a Geo Petra booster, but they are single target and single use. They can be Zhongli, Albedo, Geo Traveler, or Noelle. Now, this slight variation can only work if you have these optimal shielders and healers as your 4th slot. Zhongli, Sayu, Jean, and Barbara with the dragon buff. This support type 4 is a miscellaneous booster, which can be BENNET, Chungyun at C2, or Mono with the dragon buff. My favorite Mono-Electro team, unfortunately, again, is not supported by the Abyss, but if I had to choose, it would be the Shogun, Kujo Sada, Kazuha or Zhongli, or Albedo and Zhongli, with Albedo Petra. For free-to-play, you could either use BENNET or a Geo and a Nemo character that boosts elemental damage. Now for Electro-Charged. This team is called the Aquatic Current. Your first slot is the Electro-Charged Elemental Reactor, which can be the Shogun, Beidou, Lisa, or Fischl. Your next slot, support type 1, can be an Electro sub DPS or an Electro booster, which can be the Shogun, Kujo Sada, Beidou, or Electro Traveler. Your support type 2 is a Hydro Enabler or Applicator. Tartaglia, Kokomi might be a good option when she comes out, we don't know. Mona, Xingqiu, or Barbara. Your support type 3 is a Viridescent Anemo Swirl support, which can be Kazuha, Sucrose, Venti, Sayu, Nemo Traveler, and last resort, Jean. If you have no Electro Resonance and you are only using Shogun for your Electro application and damage, you can use these double-use optimal shielders and healers as your 4th slot, which can be Zhongli, Sayu, Barbara, or Jean. As for my favorite Electro teams, do you see a trend? Do you see a trend for this Abyss? Electro is not good in this Abyss, so Electro-Charged is not good right now. However, it will be later. So if I were to choose my favorite teams, they would have to either include Xiangling, like this team example, but I'll talk about it more in depth later, since it's technically Overload. But as for my more optimal teams, I would pick a very controversial team: Shogun, Beidou, Tartaglia, and Xingqiu. Why? Because they have really high burst costs, and you can use Beidou while you have Tartaglia out because he actually triggers her burst, unlike how the Shogun doesn't trigger Beidou's burst. And I could think of more optimal options, but my head hurts. So I'll talk about my free-to-play option. This one can either be the Shogun plus Sara and BENNET and Xingqiu, or you replace Sara with Beidou, but you do the best you can. Or Fischl. That works too. Now for Overloaded, which is one of Shogun's more intriguing team compositions that she will fill. I call this team Violet Flames. Your Electro Enabler in this case needs to be the Shogun. And you could try Elemental Mastery on the Saiyans, depending on what you're after, or just a regular build. Your second slot is a Pyro DPS, which can have Elemental Mastery as their focus as well. They are Yoimiya, using her burst is more optimal, Xiangling, Klee, Yanfei, Hu Tao, BENNET, or Diluc. Now for these next support types, you can either pick one or both if you're gutsy enough without shielding and healing, but I'll give you a shielding and healing option just in case. Support type 1s can be an Anemo Viridescent Booster that focus on AoE, Kazuha, Sucrose, Venti, Sayu, or Anemo Traveler. Your support type 2 can be a Geo Petra Booster, which focuses on single use, which can be Albedo, Zhongli, Geo Traveler, or even Noelle. And if you need these shielding and healers that also do buffing as well, you can use Noelle, Zhongli, Sayu, Jean, and BENNET with high ER. I have a meme team for you C6 BENNET havers. Try using the Shogun with C6 BENNET to overload herself. Overloading her own damage, and then having Kazuha or Sucrose be your Anemo damage supports, and then Zhongli as your shielder. For my favorite overloaded teams, there's actually a lot, but one of my favorites is using Yoimiya because there was a reason she was before the Shogun, because the Shogun and Yoimiya have incredible synergy. Yoimiya's burst actually reacts and does things, with the Shogun proccing it and doing an extra tick of overloaded damage. It's so good. It's so good, you guys. This team is using Yoimiya, Shogun, Kazuha, and Zhongli, but you can switch out Kazuha to get more attack damage with BENNET, but I think they're kind of equal on who provides more value, so just do whatever you like. Maybe BENNET's on another team that you might use, and then you have Kazuha here. And remember, there's a lot of nuance with each Pyro DPS and how applicable they are with Overloaded. Hu Tao can do some Overloaded, Xiangling can do Overloaded, which I'll get at later, and Yanfei is great at Overloaded too, as a main DPS. My favorite free-to-play team is not recorded, but it pretty much uses Xiangling because she's really great at Pyro application. So I would say Shogun, Xiangling, BENNET, and then flex the slot whether you want a Viridescent healer like Sayu, who's really great, or a shielder like Zhongli or Noelle. And finally, in the elemental section is a fireworks team. I call this team Eternal Fireworks. Your Electro Enabler has to be the Shogun. Your Hydro Applicator support can be Tartaglia, Kokomi, possibly, in the future, Mona, Xingqiu, and Barbara with the dragon buff. Your Pyro Applicators can be Yoimiya, Xiangling, or Hu Tao. And for your final supports, pick one of each. You can either pick Risky, without any protection, or you can pick a shield or a healer that fulfills both these roles. First, either an Anemo Viridescent Booster, like Kazuha, Sucrose, Venti, Sayu, Jean, or Anemo Traveler. As for proper elemental buffing shielders or healers that fulfill both roles, you can use Zhongli, Jean, Sayu, or Barbara with the dragon buff. But as for my favorite teams for fireworks, oh my gosh, there's a reason Xiangling is on the Shogun's banner. Xiangling is one of the best pyro applicator and supports for the Shogun with a high burst cost, buffing Shogun's damage. So, my favorite team is on screen right here. It is Tartaglia, Xiangling, Shogun, and Zhongli or BENNET. I just felt like using Zhongli here. And then my favorite free-to-play team is literally just replacing Tartaglia with Xingqiu. It's just so fun. Plus his burst cost is even more than Tartaglia's. I just think that the Shogun works the best with off-field supports that deal damage, or off-field damage dealers. It just sucks that we need so many for other teams, but if you just slot the Shogun into one of these similar teams, I think it's going to be a lot more fun and more interesting than usual stuff. For this last team, this is a standard burst buffing team. This really doesn't have any name. All it is just match as many high burst cost characters onto your team at once and buff your Shogun's damage with a couple supports, and you're good. Though one of my favorite types of teams, again, is using a lot of off-field damage supports that just deal a crap ton of damage while having one super booster, like BENNET. So, if you can remember all the supports and boosters that I gave you in my previous team parts, I would recommend you look at this list of characters and see which characters align with the Shogun the most, based on their burst cost. You could even do something like Hu Tao being, your main damage dealer, and Xingqiu being your off-field support for both Hu Tao and the Shogun, meaning you could do some crazy fireworks comps with just the Shogun and Hu Tao being on the field, and just swapping between them. Then your final slot should be a boosting support for all your characters. See? Anything is possible. Just try it out. Well, that's the end of my ultimate team building guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too monotonous. I hope you guys took a lot of information from each team and made your own fun teams. This is kind of stuff that I love doing, so I hope this video went well. And this video took a lot of time, so please, 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 if you can, like this video to show your support, and share this video to people who want to build the Shogun. Seriously, it really means a lot. And also, make some comments. Tell me what you liked about this video, tell me what teams you made in this video, and I just want to see it. I want to interact with you guys. So thank you so very much for watching this video. I really hope you learned something, and feel free to ask questions or go hang out with me on my Twitch to ask me questions in real time. So anyway, yeah, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Energy recharge focused, diapus? What? And I'll give a little visual indicator.